Supposedly, ignorance is bliss, and in a lot of ways, this is true. When forbidden knowledge is released, can it be contained again? Pandora, the first human created by Hephaestus, was given many gifts from the Greek gods and goddesses. Pandora literally means all gifted, although there's one gift she is most famous for. A jar, later translated as a box, and I'm sure you've heard of it. Pandora's box. Just as any order that's forbidden, it's eventually done. Pandora was told never to open this box, but of course curiosity got the best of her, and she opened it, releasing all that is bad in the world. One may say the residents of that box were quite evil. In a rush to close the box and try to put back what she had released, she trapped one thing inside. Elpis, the spirit of hope. Some see Elpis as a false hope, while others see Elpis as a comfort to humanity. One last thing to release for when humanity needs it most. Warning, spoilers ahead for Resident Evil Requiem. There's a lot of gore in this game as well, so that's another warning, but if you're fine with that, let's continue on the way to the video. Resident Evil Requiem, also known as RE9 for those pro gamers out there, released on February 27th, 2026. You play as Grace Ashcroft, 21 to 22-year-old FBI agent, in survival horror scenarios while investigating mysterious deaths. The victims have similar appearances to those who died from the 1998 Raccoon City zombie outbreak. Her investigation starts at a burned-down hotel where her mother was murdered 8 years prior. Soon she finds out that the murders she's been investigating and her mother's own murder are more intertwined than she ever thought. Victor Gideon, who she meets in this rundown hotel after some fun shenanigans,
What do I do?
has seemingly orchestrated the entire thing from her mother to the current deaths. After Grace is abducted by Gideon, the player gets introduced to the man of the evening, Leon Kennedy. The player, well Leon, experiences action horror rather than survival horror. Now at the ripe age of 50, Leon is experiencing the effects of the T-virus he was exposed to in Raccoon City all those years back. Being guided by Sherry while investigating Gideon, Leon sees Grace being abducted. Leon met Sherry all the way back in 1998 in Raccoon City when she was just 12 years old and he was 21.
What's this?
This is Sherry.
Okay.
Sherry's parents worked for Umbrella and created the G-virus. But back to Grace. In order to escape, Gideon infects more unsuspecting civilians in the street. Grace, Gideon, and Leon go to the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center. While in the care center, Grace discovers that Gideon has been experimenting on patients and clones trying to figure out the last secret of Oswald Spencer, the man who is the mastermind behind Umbrella. Umbrella, being the pharmaceutical company by day and the bioterrorism maker by night, big baddie of the Resident Evil franchise. Gideon is hoping to uncover Elpis. Gideon believes Elpis is a virus that would have allowed Spencer to transfer his memories into another person, essentially becoming immortal. Gideon believes Grace has Spencer's memories somehow and has been trying to recreate her. He believes Grace is the key to unlocking Elpis. Grace finds a little girl named Emily in the facility who is one of the clones Gideon was running experiments on. Her fellow clone slash sister slash twin named Marie became the monster known as the girl that Grace has been running from. Harry Reid, Gideon's helicopter pilot, helps Grace and Emily escape. He perishes, and Emily is mortally wounded when the helicopter crashes. Emily mutates after seemingly succumbing to her wounds. Leon stops Emily, and Grace pleads for him not to shoot Emily. After all this loss, Grace goes with Gideon and his boss, Zeno, resolute on finding answers. Zeno looks just like Albert Wesker, another longtime Resident Evil villain, and is implied to be a clone of him later on.
Spencer defied us and paid the price with his life. He was nothing.
You are nothing but an imitation.
Leon follows and returns to where it all started for him, Raccoon City. Everyone goes to ARC, an underground Umbrella facility where Elpis is being kept. Elpis has a fail-safe password. Wrong word, and bam, it's destroyed. Through old interviews her mother conducted, Grace discovers that she was a baby adopted by Oswald Spencer before his death to try to make things right. He seemingly wanted to do good in the world, to try to right the wrongs of, the suffering and death of millions. But Grace is not some magical specimen. She's just a normal human baby who Spencer gave to Grace's mother to raise. Remembering what her mother said before her death,
"Please know that you are my hope. Never forget that."
Grace can enter the password HOPE and unlock Elpis. Zeno injects himself with Elpis and is disappointed by not becoming an insane monster. Elpis is in fact not a bioweapon, but a cure. Grace gives the cure to Leon. Zeno just kinda dies, and Gideon becomes an insane mutated monster. He thinks that Spencer created Elpis not to try to fix his wrongs and close Pandora's box, but to create anarchy. As usual, Leon kills the big baddie, in this game being Gideon. People get cured, Emily is saved, and we all live happily ever after. I believe Grace, Leon, and Gideon are all representing one thing at different stages. I think each represents the stages of coping with trauma and grief one may go through. Grace is the past, Leon is the present, and Gideon is the future. Grace is young, still hopeful and unjaded by the world. She lost her mother but doesn't feel failed by the system. She works for the FBI and hopes to do things the right way, to investigate and seek justice through the system. Leon is middle-aged now, slowing down and less bright-eyed than he was back in 1998. He takes matters into his own hands, even if it means getting into trouble with the system. He seeks justice on his own terms, but is still haunted by the past.
Maybe we need a higher clearance.
I requested one, and I was told to shut down the investigation.
What? Why?
They didn't say. Orders from on high.
Look, we don't need you taking a hit for this. I'll just go it alone.
We're in this together. Till the end. I've always been good at working in the shadows.
Gideon is trauma manifested into paranoia and self-destruction. Untreated trauma and grief turns into destructive behavior. He's not only destroying himself, but those around him in order to feed a delusion. When we first see Gideon, he is in the shadows, sitting in a chair, facing away from Grace and the viewer. He sits by a lit fireplace. I thought of this shot when we saw the recording of Spencer speaking to Grace's mother. Instead of the shadows, he's illuminated by natural light, an almost ghostly haunting light. When we first see Zeno, he's in that same striking overcast light. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's go back to Gideon. One thing that caught my attention was his jacket. It's not only massive, but it's made of snake skin. That's either one big-ass snake or a bunch of little ones. On a more serious note of snakes being in Resident Evil, though, I thought of Ouroboros. Ouroboros is not only the depiction of a snake eating its own tail, but also what Albert Wesker named his virus after. The virus he wanted to use to destroy humanity to create perfect humans. Trauma untreated is like a snake swallowing its own tail, a constant cycle doomed to repeat itself. One can also shed that skin and start a new beginning. But the thing about trauma is trauma can be within an individual, but also across generations. It is as if Gideon and Grace are unknowingly recreating what Spencer and her mother had. Spencer and Grace's mother hoped to break the cycle of trauma that Spencer had created. Victor being blinded by his own insecurities, lack of identity, and failing to live up to his own expectations of wanting to be like Spencer perpetuates the abuse and trauma. Spencer's impact was much greater and much more harmful than he ever realized. He could close Pandora's box, but he could never put back what he had released. Spencer did leave something in the box, though. Grace and Elpis. For Grace's mother, she was helping break a large cycle of trauma by taking care of Grace and hoping to release the truth. Grace is carrying that forward, but also pushing to solve her own trauma by caring for Emily. She ended up with her own daughter and could move forward with a life and family. But she wasn't fighting against her demons alone. She had the help of Leon. Leon is haunted by the past. He carries the weight of what he views as failures. The Raccoon City incident gutted Leon. It broke him. He felt like a failure, and he felt like he had failed to save too many people. He even makes a nod to this in Resident Evil 4.
This time, it has to be different.
Leon has never let go of that incident, no matter his future successes in saving people. I think Leon sees himself in Grace. She is just about the same age he was back in 1998. She's a fresh-faced justice seeker just like he was. He sees saving Grace as almost saving himself. He still holds onto Raccoon City tightly. He's working with Sherry, and he has wing symbolism on his watch and on Requiem. The wing symbolism is most likely a reference to Claire Redfield, who he met on that fateful night in 1998. Claire is probably who helped him get through a lot of what he felt after Raccoon City, and is almost like a guiding light or angel in his life. Claire always looked on the bright side and fought to protect those she cared about. But Claire could only do so much. Leon still has a lot of demons he carried. I think the scene where Gideon has Leon tied up is almost like a metaphor for what path Leon could take with his trauma. Gideon is a temptation to let your trauma consume you. He is huge and looming over Leon, and Leon resists, speaking briefly and not letting Gideon get any information out of him.
You are an ignorant fool.
Do you believe in human evolution? I have devoted my life to studying it, while you have devoted your life to failure.
Gideon starts asking the questions and answering them himself at this point. The way unresolved trauma feeds into itself. Without an outlet, it's a snake eating itself, doomed to become a broken record. Leon chooses to fight back. He has the power in this situation, and chooses to use it. I want to jump back to Zeno, the clone of Albert Wesker. I think something interesting to point out is that Wesker was adopted, but more so abducted by Spencer to be used by Umbrella to make superhumans.
The new superior breed of humans, given birth by the progenitor virus. The Wesker children were entrusted with endless potential. Of them, only one survived. You.
Are you saying I was manufactured?
I was to become a god. Creating a new world with an advanced race of human beings. However, all was lost with Raccoon City.
He's the opposite of Grace. And for Leon, one of the biggest characters that had a role, good or bad, in his trauma is Ada Wong, who was working for Wesker during the Raccoon City incident. That's who she's stealing the virus for in the second game. She's still entangled in business with him in Resident Evil 4 when Leon and Ada meet again. We don't talk about Resident Evil 6, though.
Made it off campus. Now we just gotta get through town.
Without getting killed.
We don't talk about that. Wesker haunts the trauma of both Grace and Leon, a known name without a face they can put to it. Just like Spencer being gone and hanging over our characters like a ghost. Zeno's almost like that, like the physical ghost of Wesker, an imitation of what they'd imagine him to be like. It's why he has such a cool and slick design, yet is so easily recognized as Wesker. He seems almost invincible. It's only when Grace faces the truth head on can they destroy Zeno. It's why there's no epic fight against Zeno. He's merely a ghost of another villain long gone. When facing trauma and the truth, a lot of ghosts no longer hold power. They are no longer an infection. They are easily taken out. Ghosts of the past cannot hold a light to the truth. Gideon denies the truth of Elpis and becomes a huge monster. He feeds into his own delusions, which ends with his demise. He was so consumed by one idea that it cost him his life, and the research only led to the deaths and suffering of so many people. All for literal nothing. It's interesting that Resident Evil 9 is called Requiem after the insane gun that Leon has with Claire's iconic wing, and that he lets Grace borrow. Requiem can be defined as a solemn chant for the repose of the dead. It's like a dirge at a funeral, a sad, solemn song. Leon uses this weapon as a way to fight evil in honor of those who have died at the hands of Umbrella. He uses this weapon to literally get the physical cure. I think not only fighting to save Grace, but to also be healed by Grace helped Leon fight the demons of his past. Seeing himself in Grace and for her to step up to the villains and manage to save Leon may have made him view himself in a better light. He wasn't able to save everyone in 1998, but he was able to help others. He wasn't just a helpless rookie. He took down some insane monsters. And he was able to live on and help save even more people. We don't talk about Resident Evil 6.
I lost all my men because of her! And I lost over 70,000 people, including the president.
In Resident Evil Requiem, Leon was able to both physically and metaphorically heal from the Raccoon City incident in Resident Evil 2. And Grace was able to face her trauma as well. But I'm sure she has a lot more to work through. Recovery from trauma is a winding path, never a straight one. But in order to heal from trauma, one must not just give themselves grace, but also hold hope for a better future and a better tomorrow. In conclusion, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, but only if you want to. And if you want to see me play some Resident Evil games, go check out my channel, Sock Plays Games and Stuff. And I hope to do some Resident Evil related art in the future, so check out my Sock Makes Art and Stuff channel. But thanks again, y'all. Bye.